Okay, so we have, this is a picture from our website. We have quite a number of encoders and decoders, and of course I'm going to tell you all about them here in the presentation, but we do have a good number of solutions available, from cost effective, just simple video transport to um, very rich featured uh, video, audio, USB, infrared, RS-232, multi-layer transport control, and so on. So we're gonna look at those. Again, like I said before, we are the only AV manufacturer on the planet that has a full line of our own purpose designed built network switches, including PoE and fiber switches, as well as the only modular AV switch with, we'll take a look at that, but multiple card options for that. We also have a full line of cameras. I'm just plugging these because of the day and age that we have right now. We've got, a lot of distance communication going on. I think some of you joined Brian and I yesterday. We do a class on our cameras, controllers, production switches, and our packages for distance communication on Wednesdays. So you can come see that. So this is also on our website, and this is our comparison chart. This is a really great tool because I can look at all the different models and see, look down this first column, look for the things that I need in my application, and see which products match up to that. Okay, so, and you'll get this presentation when we wrap up today, but again, you can also find this on our website. All right, so let's jump into the hardware. We're going to start with the simpler products and then move on into the more, feature function rich products, and then we'll look at the software. First up is the VIP 100, and this is a H.264 based transport system. So I'm sorry, it does have very low bandwidth, which we'll talk about in a second. It is 802.3 AF PoE compliant, and for those who know about this or don't, that is approximately 13 watts per port delivered on the other end of the cable. Our products use less than 7 watts each, so they're running at about half of the 802.3 AF standard. Hi, Patrick. Good to see you. You can also do RS-232 extension, and that's follow video. So whatever receiver is looking at whatever transmitter also has an RS-232 connection at that time. Infrared extension from the receiver to the transmitter. So this allows you to control sources from the display location. And also you can do matrix switching with this product. And I apologize, I have to update this. We've now updated this number just very recently to where we can do, I think, 255 sources and 65,000 decoders. So I'll get this updated before I send this out today. HDCP encrypted content compliance and PCM audio support. The enclosure transmitter, the transmitter that is in the black box, does have loop out. You do see above that we've got a single gang transmitter that is not quite as feature rich as the enclosure version for obvious reasons, and that is PoE though, but it does not have loop out on the wall plate, and I don't know that that would make sense anyway. So something that PureLink pioneered about 4 years ago is which has been a big hit, is the digital LED display readout on our products. The reason for that is most of our competitors, if you look at their products, you don't know what the receiver is tuned to, so to speak. So for our products, the receiver has a intuitive channel display, and we all know that concept from our satellite boxes or cable TV or TV, and that makes it easy for human beings to operate the product instead of talking about multicast stream IP addresses, which is what's really going on under the hood. So you simply set your transmitter to a broadcast channel, and then you can, and as many transmitters as you have, you would set them to a different number, and then you just use the remote control or the front panel buttons on the receiver to tune to which source you want. So that's also extremely helpful in markets where control automation is not in the budget or not required or desired. So you can completely operate the system without any third-party control using the remote or the front panels controls. Okay. Again, I said, H.264 codec, that is one of the lowest data rate codecs currently in use. So you're typically going to be around 15, 20 megabits, but you could, absolute peak is 25 megabits. So that's a really nice low data rate relative to all the other codecs out there. And a maximum latency of 390 milliseconds. So why such a high latency? The H.264 codec inherently has more latency than a lot of the other codecs. So then where could you apply such a product? And that would be in situations where you are not viewing the original content at the same time you're viewing the distributed content. So to dial that down another layer, if you have somebody live on a camera and then you use H.264 distribution to display that content where you can see that person, you'll see that a little less than half a second delay. So that wouldn't be desirable. But if you're doing breakout rooms or you're going to other floors in the building or across campus, it doesn't matter because no one's going to know about the latency. Another probably more practical example is if you're doing digital signage distribution or data distribution, that is imperceivable. You wouldn't know that the content is arriving 390 milliseconds later because you can't see that relative difference. So it does have a lot of applications that it works well in. So even in, I guess a good example is bowling alleys and museums and restaurants, retail, digital signage. We see a lot of this product in those scenarios, and there's likely many more. Okay, so that's it for the 100 series. Does anyone have any questions on this series? Pat, you don't have a question? Pat is usually not this quiet, so we'll go on. Okay, the 200 series. So this is where we now add USB transport. So we also changed the codec now. So we get into the JPEG 2000 codec. So it's running down around 17 milliseconds. There's lots of people who like to fight about this, but there's very few people on the planet who can detect 17 milliseconds of delay, and I would question if there really seeing it. Um, so it is full 1080p 60. And now we also have a scaling engine in the receiver, so you can do video walls up to an 8x8, and you can also do image rotation of 90 degrees or 180 degrees. Because of the output scaler, I can also lock my output resolution regardless of input resolution, as long as it's within the spec of the input. So I can match my display. On the transmitter, we do have a loop out, and now we have bidirectional infrared, where I can control sources from display locations or display from source locations. We also now support surround sound, and we still have the infrared remote for channel selection. This product does on-screen display as opposed to on the box itself. So if these are in locations where you can't see the display anyway, this is a good solution. Also HDCP compliant and can do large matrix systems. This also has layered switching, where I can route my RS-232 map and leave it, and then switch my video and audio without interfering with that RS-232 map. And I can also mix and match audio and video sources at a receiver. So if I had transmitter 1 video and transmitter 2 audio, I can combine that on a receiver. Okay, the data rate goes up on the JPEG 2000 codec. Usually you're going to be lower than this. If you're running, 1080p, you're probably going to be around 120 megabits, but the max peak rate is 180 megabits. Okay, I already mentioned layered switching. So you actually have 5 layers that you can route independently from one another: the video, audio, RS-232, infrared, and the USB. Okay, so the USB, can be used for keyboard, mouse. So this product is considered a presentation product because of the low latency. And I really try to keep going and not do this tangent, but please be cautious of the marketing materials you see out there saying zero latency or no frame or 0 frame latency. There we have done some evaluations and lab tests of any other JPEG 2000 product. They all have some, low latency around 17 milliseconds. Okay. So anyway, at that latency, you can now use this in a live presentation. And I, in fact, do that when I used to go on the road doing demos. And I would run my keyboard mouse through this with my display, and then have my laptop remotely located. So we see this in iMag situations as well, where you've got presenter with repeater screens and similar presentation situations like that, and classrooms, educational scenarios. And we've had some clients where they use USB cams through here as well, or USB drives. And I think that covers it. So does anyone have any questions on the 200 series? Okay, so we're going to take a look at the 300s. Now we get into 4K distribution along with CAT and fiber transport. So PureLink pioneered the CAT fiber video over IP solutions about 4 years ago. And so this product's been out for quite a while. And you can choose either to use LAN or SFP fiber transport, and we'll talk about that more in a moment. So we continue with the USB keyboard, mouse, camera, hard drive extension. Again, same codec, and now we're doing 4K as well. And this product is also 802.3 AF compliant. Actually draws about 7 watts a piece. So as I was saying before, I can mix and match this. So there could be an application where I've got transmitters located in a rack, and I could choose to have those LAN or fiber. Just because they're in the rack with the switch does not always mean you use CAT cable, as you are aware. But my displays may be a mixture of distances from the rack. So I might have a few displays that are within 100 meters of my network switch, so I could choose to use CAT or fiber, but I may have some that are well past that. So I may be distributing, for example, to an outdoor sign, and in that case, I would have to use fiber. So there's no difference in performance or functionality for the system. It's just simply a matter of choosing whether fiber or CAT is appropriate or desired for the application. We also have optical or analog audio insertion on the transmitter, so we can embed those audio types on the output. We also still support bidirectional infrared and surround sound. We also support HDCP 2.2 inputs on 1.4 displays. That is completely legal, by the way. And we still have the scaling with video wall and image rotation, and the ability to lock the scalar output resolution regardless of input. So I can downscale or upscale, so I can set it for, there's a number of choices in the scaler, but I could pick 720, 1080, 4K. I can even pick 1366, 768, and lock that receiver, and I can have each receiver set to a different value. All right, we continue the LED front panel display with the remote control, and now we can do 1,000. I say 999, same thing. Sources and 65,000 displays. So I didn't really explain why you can do that. It's the reason you can do so many decoders is when you have a network topology that allows enough devices on it. There's, like, for example, when you use a subnet mask of 255.255.0.0, that is over 65,000 devices that are possible. And the reason you can do more decoders than encoders is because decoders are just looking at the streams. They're not loading the network, where the encoders are loading the network. So you have a little more limitation on that side. Okay, max 800 megabits per second. I'm going to revise this slide. I apologize, but we have, when you're doing 4K, you're actually around 250 megabits, and we've done some tweaking, and we get the same performance now at 450 megabits peak. So we've improved this. So I'll fix that before I send this out. But we spent a lot of time evaluating if there's any discernible difference in the image quality, and we've checked that box. So we've improved the data load on the network. Okay, again, layered switching. So you got 5 layers that you can switch completely independent of each other. And this product like the 200, is VPX supported, and we're going to look at that. And with VPX support, there's a lot of things that you can do in addition to what the box itself can do. Okay, any questions on the 300 series? Okay, so now we're going to take a look at the T300 series. This is very similar. There are some differences I am going to go over with you, but this product was specifically a branch of the 300, so a design revision to satisfy applications for the government and military branches. So this is a TAA compliant product. Continues the USB keyboard mouse extension, JPEG 2000 codec, same thing, 4K 802.3 AF PoE, Cat and fiber transport. Now the difference is on this product there's a failover, so if it loses connection on one, it will move to the other. We do have analog audio insertion on the transmitter, still bi-directional infrared, surround sound support, same HDCP support, and video wall, image rotation, and scaler, and again the same LED channel display and remote control, channel selection with large matrix system count, and again I'll fix this, but we're now at 450 peak megabits on this product, and layered switching. Where this product also really excels by need for the applications of government and military is diagnostics. So you'll see a little bit of a difference on the front panels here. For the transmitter, I've got 6 diagnostic LEDs, and these menu buttons allow a lot of on-screen diagnostics, so I can put up a lot of data about the network, the source, the encoder, and I can make adjustments if I need to, but these buttons can also be locked out. Also in this case, every I/O has been moved to the back, so you'll see all the connections only on the back side of the transmitter, and you have a loop out. On the receiver, it also has the 6 diagnostics and the ability to bring up a lot of OSD on the screen. We did leave typical workstation connections on the front, which would be, a mic, speakers, and keyboard mouse. So it's common to see the receiver sitting at the workstation location. And the minus plus buttons also allow the operator to change sources as needed, if needed. And on the backside, we do have the LAN and SFP connections, as well as more USB options on the back. Okay, also, I failed to mention, but you probably noticed them in the slides, that we have Crestron and QSys modules available for download for these products. We do have a rich API document that's very easy to implement, lots of examples in it. So if you're using other control methods such as AMX or Extron or Savant or RTI Control 4, it's very simple to get that up and running, and we do provide support to you in that process. Okay, any questions on the T300? Okay, so we have a lot of network switches. This is just one example, and I'll show you a few others using our website because I also want to get you acclimated with the navigation of our website. But this is one of our newer switches, came out a couple months ago. But this is a TAA compliant 24 port fiber switch with 4 optional LAN ports and then an additional 4 SFP plus 10 gigabit ports that can be aggregated together to make larger interlinks to another switch or other switches. And it can be powered either by 110 to 240 AC volts or by 24 volt. And this also, as you hopefully can tell, all the connections are rear mounted on that product. So I'm going to take us to the network page of our website. Sorry about the jittery movement there. And if I go into my search bar, all of our switches start with VIP -net, and that would be all the switches we have in the line, and you can see quite a number of switches available there. The way that our part number works is the first 2 numbers indicate how many CAT connections there are, and the second 2 numbers indicate fiber connections at the rated speed. And so when you look at our descriptions, you'll see 1G media hub. So immediately you can tell that I've got 48 1G CAT ports and 4 1G fiber ports. But in a lot of cases, the fiber ports on the CAT switches are also 10G. So dive in, take a look at that, and then you'll see, for example, let me find here we go. This is a 1G fiber switch because you see it has 4 CAT ports in the part number and 48 fiber ports. And if you wanted to just go to the main page and look at that, you can go to our video over IP page. And then there'll be some subcategories in there where we've got encoders and network switches. So we'll go in and take a look at the network switches. And we've got our TAA, all of our PoE switches are TAA compliant. I'll take you to this modular switch since it's the most unusual one we've got, just so you can take a peek at that. So this comes with a number of different module types, and you can load them pretty much any way you need to. Includes LAN ports, SFP ports, SFP plus ports, ST modules, and SC modules. And the ST module, that's all built-in fiber conversion, so you just plug your fiber cable right into that. Okay, this is L3 Plus. This thing is built like a tank. It's TAA compliant. It's also got a number of utility and transport certifications, and its primary target for us was military mobile command, but it is also very valuable in a lot of other applications where you need rugged design and failover support and diagnostics. And it does actually have 2 power supplies in it that run off of 2 separate input circuits. So if one fails, it instantly takes over on the other one, and is also designed so if one of your circuits fails, it moves over to the other one as well. So you can see this thing is quite a battleship. Okay, so that's all we're going to go over for now on the switches. But if you have questions, please shout them out now, or if you think of something later, let me know. Here we're just talking about why would you pick fixed switches, which is, a fixed amount of I/O versus the modular. Fixed switches are always going to be more cost effective than the modular switches, but you're going to be locked into how much I/O there is unless you stack the switches. And I would say in practice, what we see going on through our integrators is most of them do wind up with fixed switches and stack switches. But as we talked about on our Media Hub, there are a lot of attractive features here to critical environments, and also scenarios where you've got different type of connectivity. So, we do see this for medical and broadcast. And we just list out here for reference the different types of connections and why would you pick modular over fixed. So you'll get this in your presentation. All right. Another unique product here is our streaming encoder. So I'm going to go through the advantages here. This product has some very interesting features to it. The first thing is I can send any 1080p source live out to what we call soft codecs, and soft codecs would be platforms that can decode the H.264 codec, such as YouTube, Vimeo, Boxcast, Facebook Live, Wowza, and many others I can't think of off the top of my head right now. So it has a far reach. And if you think about that application, when I say send any 1080p source live, that could be a camera, a laptop, a media player, a broadcast switch, a matrix switch, uh, digital signage. So there is a lot of opportunities here, and this box is in many, many different types of scenarios out deployed. The H.264 standard, as I mentioned, is accepted by many endpoints, also hardware endpoints. So there are displays that can decode H.264. LG and Samsung, for example, have displays that can take the network connection direct in and decode the VIP streams content. Another really important feature of this product is that I can stream to multiple platforms simultaneously. So I have 4 streams that I can send. So I could choose YouTube and Facebook and Boxcast and LG displays or whatever combination I want. So I can really accommodate reaching multiple platforms and expand my audience and viewing capacity. It also supports RTMP, RTMPS, RTSP, multicast, HLS, TS, and FLV formats. So very powerful box, really nice price, very, very simple to use, very low data rate. Again, it's the H.264 codec. Just to give you an example of how simple this box is to set up, all of these soft platforms like YouTube Live, they have a really good interface that provides you the destination URL, and you simply get that from YouTube or Facebook and so on, and you enter that into the RTMP field and you hit apply, and moments later you'll be seeing your stream live on YouTube. So it's really extremely simple, and the box is intentionally designed to be automatic. So when you apply power and a source, once you've put that key in from your URL from your destination, it will stream. So if you lose power and then the power comes back on, your stream will automatically restart. And it also eliminates a lot of touch points or user interaction. So where this has been extremely successful also has been house of worship and other similar markets where there might be low technical capacity. So retail, other markets like that where you just turn it on and it works. Okay, so I'd really encourage you to take a look at that product. All right, I'm gonna just blast through this. This is a camera that has an H.264 output, so it is in our VIP line. It is a pro grade broadcast quality camera, really nice optics, 20x zoom, and very feature rich. Can be controlled in many different ways, including the remote control through Pelco, Visca, and so on. So if you're in need of any cameras, please take a look at our camera page. We have 6 cameras, and we cover all of those on Wednesdays. So we're going to move on to our software control automation, and this is VPX 2.0, and the 2.0 version is really a back-end architecture improvement. So all the functions and features are the same as 1.0, just built up from a more latest and greatest architecture approach. We did have the product is spec'd with 16 presets. One of the new features we've added to VPX is the installer can now add additional presets as they need. So you could have 20, 30, 50 presets if you need. It's very simple to add up. And we've done some additions to our API. So VPX has its own API where you can control VPX from another control system. And that may sound a little odd, but the reason we did this, and this will make sense to you, is VPX does a very significant amount of device discovery and diagnostics and configuration, and it's extremely fast and easy to do it. For example, presets, I can build very quickly all sorts of complex presets in VPX. If you were then to have a Crestron system and try to do the same thing, it would take a significant amount of time in that environment to do the same thing VPX does very fast and easy. So you would save a lot of money in installation costs and Crestron development. So you could offer a more economic solution to yourself or customer by using VPX to set up and manage the equipment and create the presets, and then use Crestron or other third-party control to call the presets and ask for the data from VPX. So we see that actually in action in quite a few applications. And again, I use Crestron as an example, but it could be many other choices, QSC, Extron, AMX, and so on. Okay, so let's look at some of those features. The first thing about VPX is it's the basic and plus models are Windows-based server applications that have browser-based user interface. So what that means is somewhere on the network, I'd have VPX running on a Windows server, which, by the way, could be a laptop, which is what I'm using. But I could get to the user interface from Mac, Android, iPad, tablets, and so on. So I can get to this through many different browsers, and I can also do it wirelessly. It has full automation discovery of the 200, 300 devices, as well as T300 devices, and it's extremely fast in doing that. I can also manually build systems. So if I'm at a job site, I could do the automatic discovery. But if I'm on the way to a job site and I'm trying to get all my presets and my video wall layouts configured and all that, I can do that on the plane or at my office, and then take the configuration file to the job site. I can also hide or show some of the devices. So for example, I may have things I want the end user to control, but I may have input-output relationships that I want set and left alone. So I may hide those from the user interface so they can't change anything. So for example, maybe I want a media player running on an outdoor digital signage display, and that never should change. I can set that up as the installer and then hide it from this user interface and still get to the diagnostics. So I haven't lost all access to it. I can still request information about that. So live color-coded diagnostics are also very important and useful. The color of the buttons or displays indicate to you the state of the devices. So we have a number of colors that translate to everything's working great, to we've got some hiccups on the network, to I've lost all communication with the device, or the device is in an unknown state. So that's all in the manual. We can also automate those presets. So on the right side, the presets are schedulable, so I can set them to fire on a very granular schedule. I could say every day of the week, or only during the week, or only the weekend, or every other day, or every other week. So there's a lot of fine control of automating those presets, and you can still also manually call those presets as well. We also have a feature called Preset Rotator, and that allows me to select any combination of programmed presets and put them into an automatic infinite rotation. So I just simply pick which presets I want, pick the time interval between the presets, and then start the cycle, and they'll just continuously change. So that's something, just as an example, in retail, they like to have video walls that keep changing. So you can do that with this preset rotator as an example. And also the user interface through the browser, you can close all the interfaces, and because VPX is a server application, it's still running even though the user interface has been closed. So if you want to set things up and then close all that so nobody's touching anything, you can do that. We have live preview edit modes, so that allows you in live mode, and those are the 3 buttons above the presets. I can be in live mode, which means anything that I do on the interface is initiated on the equipment, or I can be in preview mode where I could look at presets and see what they are without actually executing the presets. and then edit view, which is only available in the installer mode, allows me to go in and make all sorts of adjustments to the devices and the presets and the layouts of the video walls and so on. So we call that installer's device management. I'm going to show you that in just a moment. We have searchable event log. So if there's issues, I can look at the event log and I can filter it and look for a specific device and if it's had any errors in a certain date range. So I could say, look at, my third receiver and between last Monday and this, Thursday, and are there any errors? We already talked about third-party control API, and this truly, and I'm going to show you this, is extremely easy video wall configuration. It's very intuitive and very fast. And as I started alluding to, we've got 3 different versions of the program. We have the standard, which supports 32 inputs by 32 outputs. Then we have the plus version that will control 100 by 100. And then we have the custom version, and this is truly custom. So we can set up the user interface for any possible I/O combination. We can actually customize what operating system you need this on, as well as customize what is on the user interface, what kind of diagnostics you might want to add, whether you want it as an iPad app or Android app, and all sorts of things. So if you have any specific requirements, definitely talk to us about that and we can work that with you. Okay, and those different platforms, we also have a chart online that shows those, so you can look through this list and see which version does what. It's also in this presentation, which you'll get. And now I'm going to go ahead and show you kind of some live VPX operation going on. So I actually have a demo system that is 2 transmitters and 4 receivers, and they are configured right now as a 2x2 video wall. And for saving space, I'm using a multi-viewer to take my 4 receivers and put them on one display. So please make sure you understand that the single display is actually a 2x2 video wall. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on my camera so you can see that. Stand by one moment. So I believe you should now be seeing my webcam. Brian, can you confirm you can see the webcam?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great.
I can see, yeah, I see your webcam on, your little screen box that you have. Instead of the talking head, I see your setup.
Okay, good. So you see the display and the demo kit, yes?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. All right. Okay, so I did a auto scan of my network, and within, I would say, less than 10 seconds, it came up with all of my devices in this list. We're looking at the installer device management page in VPX, and it first lists the transmitters. So I have 2 transmitters. First one's broadcasting on channel 1, second one's broadcasting on channel 2, and then you see 4 receivers in the list. I have a bunch of buttons here that do different things. The first column allows me to display the user label and the IP address of the box on the display. So I'm going to just change this here to say RX1, and the IP address of that box is 169.254.1.101. When I press this button, it's going to be hard for you to see it on the screen, but especially, yeah, the upper left, you'll see RX1, and maybe I can zoom in for you. Let me try that. So I'll press it again, and you'll see the data come up on the screen. So that's very useful, so I can find um, displays connected to receivers. I'm sure guys who have done installation get the value there. Okay, and then I can also reboot devices. I can go in and set all sorts of different settings, like scalar settings, image rotation, the IP address scheme, and so on. And like I said before, I can also hide or show devices or delete them from the system. Now, I did this all through an auto scan. I can also manually add devices, so I'm just going to make something up here. We'll call it RX11, and we'll add that manually. Now, it doesn't actually exist, so the status is going to always say scanning. It's not going to find it. So once it's scanned in or I've added devices, then I go to the matrix page, and this is actually the main user interface. And this is where you can see the receivers and what transmitter is currently being displayed on that receiver. Now it defaults to the IP address, and by the way, you see the change of colors. That's the diagnostic information. So right now, VPX is telling me the first 4 devices are responding as expected, and the 5th device is currently in an unknown state because it can't find it. And in a moment, it's going to turn orange, indicating multiple communication failures. And after a few seconds, it'll turn red, indicating total communication failure. Okay, so I can come in here and rename these receivers. So we'll do that real quick so you can see that. All right, so now they're all named, and the label that's on the display is the source. So I may come in here and say, I want to rename that to my media player. And this one I'll rename to my laptop. And then when we go back into the installer's device manager, you'll also see that everything's been updated here as well. Now, you should have noticed that I've got 4 displays represented, and that correlates with the receiver that's responsible for that display. Now, if I want to make a video wall out of that, I've got this button up here called Video Wall, and I press that, and this is where our VPX Wallmaster plugin is really a very powerful add to the VPX line. Is VPX by itself can do one video wall with one image on the video wall. So that serves, a few applications. But where maybe I want uh, many different image zones on a video wall, then I would use this plugin, and we're going to look at that now. So here I've created a 2x2 video wall, which represents what I'm doing. And then it's really as easy as saying which receiver is on which panel. I just click and drag the receiver that's responsible for that display, and that's it. So now these receivers are permanently dedicated to those displays. And actually I can delete them, but all right, once I do that, then maybe I want different layouts. Now 2x2, I'm not going to be able to do a whole lot of different layouts, but maybe we want one image across all screens. So I'll make that layout, and at first it'll start out with as a little representation of the 2x2, but I click and drag the image zone that I want across the monitors I want involved, and that's it. So I've made a layout, and now we'll make what we'll call individual layouts. And now I just click a zone on each panel, and I'm done with that one. And let's do a V stretch. So I can do 2 horizontals, and we'll do an H stretch. And last, we'll do a lower left picture in picture. So I'll create an image zone across the whole wall, and then I'll click on the lower left monitor to create the picture in picture zone. And that's it. I'm done. So you see how easy that is to do. And when I go back to my user interface, now those receivers are all bundled together to make this video wall. I can come in and select any one of those choices, and as you can see on my webcam, it changes, and you can see also in the user interface it's broken up visually to show that they're now individual. Or maybe I'll do picture in picture, and you can see that picture in picture there. Or I'll do, let's say, the horizontal stretch. Sorry, my movie's looping back from the beginning, and it always starts in black. Or I can do the V stretch. Yep. All right, now you see RX11 is red. Remember, I made that one up, and it doesn't exist. So it's telling me I've completely failed to communicate, and that would be present in the event log. So if I go in the event log, I can now start to look for the failure data on that particular one. Okay, now I'll just show you presets and we'll be done. So I go into edit mode and I pick a preset. I assign a layout, I assign a source, and I save it, and that's it. So I'll make another one. We'll make this one individuals, and I'll do something like that, and I'll save that, and I'm done. So you see how fast this is, and if I were coding this in a third-party control system, I'd be spending a good bit of money doing it. And we'll make one last one. I guess we'll do horizontal stretch and save that one. All right, to demonstrate the preview mode, I can look at these presets and you see nothing's happening on the screen. So if I want to just check them, I can do that. But another nice thing about our presets is I can put a good bit of information on the button. So I can say like one image across all screens, and I can say, media player or something like that. And you can see on the button, I can tell what that is. It's the media player across the whole thing. Or here's individuals, and I can say individuals, media player / laptop, and put that on my button. All right, so very easy to read, very fast to make. And like I said before, 16 presets is not enough. I press the add preset button, and now I have an additional preset, and I can continue to add presets as I need to. Okay. So we go back to live mode, and I can call one image across the entire screen, and you see that preset is called. And then maybe I pick individuals, and that's that. Okay, so that's mostly the tour. There are password protection levels on here, so you can log out of elevated access, and now my client or user can only get to the presets, and maybe they can change sources on the layout. So that's it. Okay, well that concludes the class. I appreciate you guys staying with me. I know I went over. I apologize for that. I do want to close by saying we appreciate your time. We want to partner with you in your solutions and applications. We want for you guys to be successful and have good value in the solution. So please don't forget we have classes on Tuesdays for networks for video over IP. This is where we talk about installation. Wednesdays we do distance communication solutions with our cameras, production switchers, streaming encoder, speakerphone, and so on. And Thursdays we have this class. You guys are entered into a giveaway for a $100 Amazon card. You'll be getting a survey for this class. If you respond, you get entered a second time into the drawing. And but most importantly, please reach out to us and let's talk about your designs or requirements. And I'm going to sit on the call here for a little bit if you guys have questions. So if you do, please fire away now and we'll cover those. Otherwise, thanks for your time and look forward to hearing from you or seeing you in another class.
Hi, Keith. This is Mark. Do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you good, Mark.
This has been what I've been waiting for all week. I have a project that I was wondering if you could demonstrate a sort of an example of it. I'm proposing to the client to use VPX for a bunch of display video signage type monitors around a church indoor with 5 different sources and 29 displays. And the displays would be grouped into 5 groups. And I am looking to transport the video as well as provide like a 232 or a networkable type control for power and input commands to these displays in a central location. And I have a proposal from your office for that, and I was just wondering if some version of that could be shown to me a little bit, like mainly the control side, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's the I don't have that plugin. So there's a plugin called Display Control.
Right, I have that
And
in the proposal.
yeah. So what is the timeline on the project?
We're intending to build it in the next couple of months.
Yeah. Okay. So you're in good shape. Display Control basically adds an interface that allows you to import a a module, so to speak. So let's say you have LG displays as an example, that you create a module for that LG line, and you've got your power on, power off commands, maybe mute, whatever commands you want. And you specify whether it's RS-232 or infrared or LAN.
So
And
do you have a database of all those commands for that product line, or do I have to input all the commands in? How does that work?
right, it's actually both. So we build some modules as we can, and then the reality is it's impossible for us to cover all that. It has to be kind of on the integrator side to help with that.
Right.
So there's a utility page in VPX that allows you to say, this is a display, it's LG, here's the model, here's my power on command, my power off command. You add commands as you need. Then you say
So
it's
those are
RS.
commands I would have to get the actual text from factory or in the manual or whatever.
Right, which is, it's not uncommon, but yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's on a case by case basis. I don't want to overpromise, but if you said, hey, it's in a couple months, and here's the commands, it's possible that we could make that module in that time frame. If you told us, hey, I got to do this in 2 days, that's why we have it where we create modules and you create modules. So you can do it if we can't do it in time. And you can do it on the job site.
Sure.
So yeah.
And then there's the ability to group those things.
I'm sorry?
There's the ability to group those things, I guess.
Yeah, so the presets are where that really is done. So again, I mean, I can have 50 presets, and so I can have a preset that changes sources, or I can have a preset that powers on all my monitors or powers them off, and I can schedule that. So I can say, every weekday, turn everything on at 8 a.m. and turn it off at 11 p.m. Or, if it's a church, it's Sunday at 6 a.m., turn everything off. And I worked at a church for 5 years. At 1 p.m., there was nobody there. So, turn
Right.
everything off at 1 or whatever. So you can automate all that as well. So, yes, when you say grouping, you can group, say, these 5 displays. So I could make, let me log back in as a installer, and we can say, let's make up another we'll make another couple of displays real quick. So we'll say 13. Okay, so now I've got 3 fake displays right now. So I go into edit mode and I say I want these 2 to switch to a media player. So I save that and I say RX, and I know these names are not proper for application, but I may say those 2 switch to a media player. So what this preset is doing now is saying, of this entire system, only these 2 are being managed. It's ignoring everything else. So I'm grouping them in that sense. And then maybe here I say put them all together and say, let's call them satellite displays. So we'll say all satellite displays to laptop. And so when I change these, I may have made a mistake there. That one shouldn't have, the wall shouldn't have done anything, but yeah, this one, I can do that. So, or you may do that. So I can save those and name this, ARCS 11 media player and RX 12 laptop. Save that. So now you can see those changes. So it ignores any change to that. So whatever it was last, it stays that way. Does that make
So just to
sense?
be, I think so, yeah. So I just wanted to clarify that this would have the ability to send 232 commands out that would actually change the inputs on the displays if need be, not just get the receivers to go to a different channel.
Right. I just can't demonstrate that for you at the
No, it's
moment.
okay,
But
but
yes,
it'll have
I
that
could come
granular.
into a preset, and what would happen here is in my pop-up it would say display control, and I click that and it would come up and say, what do you want this preset to do? And you would pick which displays and what command you want to go to what display, and then
Uh,
save it. So usually, it's power on or power off, correct? You might have input changes, and you just say, well, I want this display to power down, and these two, ignore them. So then I would save that to the preset, and then I'll demonstrate here, but I go into my scheduler and I say, um, start date is just a kind of a really sophisticated function. It's I could make the start date a year from now, but you probably want it the day you create the preset. And you pick when you want the preset to fire. So let's say I want it to fire at 1 p.m. every day. And I'll ignore end date because that would terminate the automation. But maybe I want that on, just Sunday. And what will also show up in here, which you don't see right now, is what command you want. So there would be a list and you would pick power off, and then you would save that. And so then that would go into a preset. So I can have presets can be only input changes, only layout changes of video walls, only control commands to displays, or any combination of those. So I can have turn everything on and set them all to this input and set my video wall to this layout, or just turn everything on or turn everything off. Does that make sense?
yes, that's good. So it could include commands to the display. It could also include changing receivers to different channels.
Right,
Any mix and match of all this stuff is available.
right. And I could say, and also change the way the wall looks, assuming you have one. You may not need
I
that,
don't. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But it can do that. So I think everything that you've told me, you're good.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah. Any questions? Anyone else?
I do have one other question.
Sure.
Since I'm going to have 5 sources, in your, is there some bandwidth calculator? I'm looking at using the 200 uh, series encoders and decoders.
Right.
Uh, and I think that was what, 180 megabit?
That's peak. So
Approximately. Yeah.
yeah. So I'll just show everybody now that on Tuesdays we teach all that stuff. That's the video over IP installation. It's called Networks for Video over IP. So I'd come to that, but in reality, you're going to be, when we say peak, the reason we give you that number is so that you design for the absolute worst case scenario. In practice, you're going to be down more like 120 megabits, and we put it in gigabits, so it's 0.12 gigabits.
Right.
So if you have 5 transmitters all putting out 120 megabits, you've got 0.6 gigabits total activity going on in the switch.
And if I have multiple switches and they're tied together with fiber around the building, which I'm doing mainly just to shorten some of the Ethernet runs.
Yeah, you've got no concerns, because when you look at the network switches,
Right.
let me go back to the presentation real quick here, which I think, messed up. Hang on one second. Just bear with me 1 second. I'm going to show you that really quickly. So when you tie together switches, these 4 ports over to the right,
Right.
each one of those is 10 gigabits.
Right.
And those are considered interlinks. So you simply connect, you put an SFP plus module in here, use a 2LC fiber to the other switch, and that's rated at 10 gigabits, and you're talking about 0.6. You have headroom for days. So
Right. And
you have,
does it matter the architecture if I have multiple switches about which way I hop? If there's distributed switches, do they all need to go to a central place, or is my bandwidth such a situation where I can just do whatever's shortest runs?
no,
Could
I
I
mean,
hop
it's
from
good
one
at
switch
that
to
point
another
to
to
start
another?
checking drawings, but
Yeah.
in really, typically, it's only about where you're trying to move the video audio data to. So if you have 10 switches, but you only have encoders and decoders on 2 of them, it's all going to be traffic controlled anyway.
Is it dependent on how many receivers are attached to each switch?
No,
Okay.
not really.
I didn't think so. Yeah.
No, it's really about the transmitters.
Right.
So the truth is, you really need to have a drawing just to cross-check it. But whether
Sure.
you're doing a star configuration or a hub configuration, when you're talking about 600 megabits, I don't think, and you have proper functions in the switches, it's not really an issue.
Right. Okay. Great.
Okay, well, if anyone else has any questions, speak now. Otherwise, email us or call us, and we'll be glad to work with you guys. I'll be sending out the presentation as soon as I update a couple of those notes, and you'll get the survey. And again, please reach out to us, come to the other classes, and we appreciate all the time you guys have spent with us today.